أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم المهدينا وسلم تسليما السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear sister and companion Hadid Al-Khuli, as well as Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of the faithful believing men and women in the crowd tonight.
Master Aba Al-Sadiq, it's such an honor to be with you tonight. And tonight is a special night, as I know many of the believers around the world have sought your guidance and have asked themselves if we had the Imam of the time, the messenger of the time with us, we would know the halal and the haram, we would know guidance, we would know light. And I am one of these people who have always asked and wondered before I came to this call, if the Prophet was here, what would he say about this? What would he say about that? And we're lucky enough that God has guided us to you, the companion of the will, the Imam of the time. So the believers came from around the world and have sent questions. And we appreciate the opportunity that you provided for us today to have guidance from you and know the right and wrong and have these questions answered by you, inshallah. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
God bless you, Hadid.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for bringing the questions to me. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of the believing men and women that are also at home watching us, either on the satellite television station or on the YouTube.
If it's okay, I would like to start with the first question that came from a brother from the name Muhammad Madan. And his question reads, hello, I have a question about Al-Abbas ibn Ali. Is it true that he is great like Imam Al-Sadiq said about him? And if you know things that I don't know about him, can you tell me, please? God bless you all and thank you. And I'll read the question in Arabic. مرحبا لدي سؤال عن العباس بن علي. هل صحيح أنه عظيم كما قال عنه الإمام الصادق عليه السلام؟ وإذا كنت تعرف أشياء عنه لا أعرفها، هل يمكنك أن تخبرني بها من فضلك؟ بارك الله فيكم جميعا وشكرا لكم.
So, Al-Abbas ibn Ali alayhi salam is not just a great person in the words of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, but he's one of the greatest men to ever walk the earth, in the words of all of the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. And when he passed away in Karbala, defending Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam, and while trying to retrieve water for the thirsty family members of the Ahl Bayt of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they were being attacked by the cruel tyrant Yazid, lanatullah alayh. After he passed away, Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam said at that moment that the back of Al-Hussein is broken, to signify the fact that Al-Abbas was the backbone of his brother Al-Hussein. And so Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, they are both sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And Al-Abbas ibn Ali, his mother is al-Banin, and she was another wife of the Prince of the Believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib, that he married post the passing of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And so most people know Al-Abbas as a great martyr, one of the main characters in the event of Karbala, one of the sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, somebody who was very close to Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, a brother of Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam, a son of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. But what they don't know, and what Ahmad al-Hassan alayhi salam did reveal in this dawah, which I could perhaps share with the person who's asking, as well as anybody else who is perhaps unfamiliar with this information, is that Imam Ahmad al-Hassan alayhi salam said that there was actually no difference in rank between Al-Abbas and Al-Hussein, except for the fact that Al-Hussein was a hujjah over Al-Abbas. So in terms of rank, Al-Abbas' rank is the same as the Ahl al-Kisa alayhim salam, or the people of the cloak. And in this lies a great secret that is only understood when you understand some of the other incarnations of Al-Abbas. And so he incarnated in the time of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam as Aba Al-Khattab, one of the close companions of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and somebody who the narrations state was martyred alongside with 70 other companions who were actually reincarnated prophets and messengers. He also had an incarnation as a messenger, and one of the greatest messengers of all time, and that messenger was Jesus alayhi salam, the son of Mary. And we know, and I've spoken about before on one of the episodes on the School of Divine Mysteries, that Jesus was actually Gabriel incarnated in the human form. And so Al-Abbas alayhi salam is Gabriel who came down upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the events of the cloak. And he is the sixth member of the cloak. Hence, he has the same rank as the people of the cloak because he was actually with them in the cloak. And yeah, so those are a few things that perhaps they didn't know about Al-Abbas. I can also say that he incarnates in this day and age and supports the Qa'im, and he also has a time in which he rules the earth as the 9th Mahdi. He also had various appearances throughout history, obviously as the Archangel Gabriel that was with all of the prophets and the messengers. But he also is known as the teacher in the Persian culture, in the Persian religion of Zarathustra or Zoroaster. He appeared to Zoroaster in the form of Ahura Mazda, and he's the one who taught him. So those are a few secrets about Al-Abbas ibn Ali alayhi salam.
That's incredible. And the depth of the words of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam can never be understood truly unless we are with the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, with you. So that's an incredible answer. And I'm sure the questioner's his mind is probably blown by this answer. I'll move to the next question, which is from Ali Al-Asbahi. And he is asking, with your permission, my father, is there a meaning behind the number of rings you are wearing during the recordings? And the question in Arabic, السؤال من علي الأصباحي وهو يقول بعد إذنك أبي هل هناك معنى لعدد الخواتم التي ترتديها في اللقاءات؟
A meaning, yeah, sure. We could say that there's a meaning. There's always a meaning behind anything that the Imam does. And so let's, I guess, share with the people. This ring here is my wedding ring.
MashaAllah.
Because I'm married. All right, so there's that. This ring here is a red Yemeni Aqiq ring, and it has some emerald stones around it. And this ring was actually given to me as a gift. Back in the day when I was filming the Arrival series, and it had belonged to somebody who gave it to me, who got it from somebody who is a particular ruler over an African country. So that is where that comes from. And I wear the red aqiq because the red aqiq is a sunnah. It's what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear. He asked the believers, he basically recommended for the believers that they should wear a ring that has in it an aqiq Yemeni stone in it. And that is because of the properties of the Aqiq Yemeni. It protects against magic. It protects against attacks by jinn. It protects the human being in general because the red Yemeni stone, it comes from a mountain And that mountain was the first mountain that accepted that God was one, and that the messenger was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that Ali and the Mahdis and the Imams and the Mahdis are the Hujjas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I wear also this ring here, and this ring is an onyx ring. It has an onyx stone. I wear it because it's a black stone, and the black stone, as written in the Book of Monotheism by Imam Ahmad al-Hassan has a special relationship with the Qa'im, because the Qa'im is the black stone, or the stone that was rejected, the cornerstone that was rejected by the builders. It is the stone that was tarnished. It came down as a white stone. Adam, in some of the narrations, kicked it around in paradise, and then when he got kicked out of paradise, God sent that stone down, and eventually from the sins of the people, it became black, and that's the stone that's in the Yemeni corner of the Kaaba. The black stone, the onyx stone in particular, is also the stone that is associated with Joseph. So on the breastplates of the priests of Israel, and in different places, each one of the tribes was associated with a particular stone, and Yusuf was associated with the onyx or the black stone. And I have in it carved the holy seal of the Dawah. It's the six-pointed star, which is from the things that we inherited from the prophets and the messengers. We inherited from David, and it's the seal of Imam Ahmad al-Hassan alayhi salam.
Allahu Akbar.
So those are the rings that I wear. I have other rings that are really special to me, and I think I'm going to show this particular ring actually. I think tonight I'll share it with everybody. This ring, it means a lot to me. This is a special ring. It is a ring that is a Yemeni ring. It's also a Yemeni stone ring. It's a fiery one. It's very beautiful. And it used to belong to somebody very special. And it got to me by special means. And what makes this stone very special is that it actually has, if you look on the inside of it, and perhaps we'll let the director take some pictures of it so he can share it in the middle of the video clip, is that it has in it what appears to be blood. And that's because it is blood. It's blood from Abdullah Radia that landed on the earth and was preserved in this stone. The dirt became a gemstone, and this gemstone has remained with the Imams from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam until it reached me today.
Allahu Akbar. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Al-Imam wal-Mahdi wa sallim taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Al-Imam wal-Mahdi wa sallim taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Al-Imam wal-Mahdi wa sallim taslima. Thank you so much, dear Al-Sadiq. I'll move to the third question. And this question is from Pakistan, from a brother who's called Al-Mustafi Ali Rawalpindi. And he's saying, peace be upon you and the mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And then he's saying, Hazrat, this is a very important question. Are there any blessed hadith that are authentic in its sanad and matn, or the chain of narrators and the content, regarding the permissibility or complete prohibition of music? Some people say that music itself is not completely forbidden, but that there are certain evils that make music forbidden, such as concerts in a mixed environment of men and women. Similarly, a woman may sing while wearing a dress that arouses lust, or may write poetry that is blasphemous or polytheistic, or may incite to immoral behavior. Some say that if a song is sung with just the tongue, without any musical instruments, then it is permissible as long as no guitar or sitar is played. Music has now become a part of life, so is it necessary to give it up completely, or is it permissible to listen to or watch a particular type? And for the sake of our Arabic speakers and watchers, I'm just going to read the Arabic. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سيدي لدي سؤال مهم للغاية. هل هناك أحاديث مباركة صحيحة السند وصحيحة المتن تتعلق بجواز أو تحريم الموسيقى بشكل كامل؟ بعض الناس يقولون أن الموسيقى نفسها ليست محرمة تحريم مطلق، إلا أن هناك بعض الآثام التي تجعل الموسيقى محرمة، مثل الحفلات في بيئة مختلطة من الرجال والنساء. وبالمثل قد تغني امرأة وهي ترتدي فستانا يثير الشهوة، أو قد تكتب شعرا يتضمن كفرا أو شركا، أو قد تحرض على سلوك غير أخلاقي. ويقول البعض أنه إذا تم غناء أغنية فقط باللسان دون استخدام الآلات الموسيقية فذلك جائز، طالما أنه لا يتم عزف الجيتار أو الستار. لقد أصبحت الموسيقى الآن جزءاً من الحياة، فهل من الضروري التوقف عن سماعها بشكل مطلق، أم أنه يجوز الاستماع إلى نوع معين أو مشاهدته؟
Okay, thank you so much for that very important question, and it's a question I think that a lot of people are consider it to be a very important one because of the prevalence of music in the world today and in society today. Everywhere where you go, you'll find music, whether it's in film or it's in the streets or stores, wherever, shops, weddings, etc. And I think that it's been a very controversial question. It's been a question that people have differed upon it, and differing scholars and schools of thought within Islam have issued contradicting verdicts surrounding it. And the reason why it's such a kind of a confusing topic is because of the following. We do have a group of narrations from Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, a large group of them, that very explicitly state that singing and music and dance is absolutely haram. It's forbidden, and that if you engage in these things, that you exit out of Islam. And narrations that state that even the musical instruments, that they're speaking as they're being strung or struck, and what they're saying is actually, beware, beware, the person who's playing me, you're going to end up in hellfire, and things of this nature. And there's narrations that have spoken about, the origin of music, where it came from, and they basically state that the origin of music is that basically Iblis, he waited around on the earth. When Adam passed away, okay, because remember, Iblis had a lot of envy towards Adam. He refused to prostrate to him. They both get kicked out of paradise in the end when he convinced him to eat from the tree, etc. They both come down to the earth, and Iblis basically waits until Adam dies after making his life a living hell. And once he does die, he is so excited, he's so happy that he goes forward and he basically creates all these musical instruments, and he has a giant party, and he's just stringing the music all over the place, and everybody is celebrating. He makes a gigantic musical celebration out of the happiness and the joy that Adam has passed away. And then and so the narration states that any music that comes after that, its origin is from that, right? So this is the problematic nature concerning music, is these statements where it says that it's haram and that its origin is bad and that the person who plays it is going to go into hellfire. But we do have, on the other end, in the Holy Scriptures, the scriptures that are verified by the Quran, for example, the Torah and the Bible, the stories of the prophets and the messengers, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you find them doing the opposite, implementing the opposite. right? And what I mean by that is, for example, in Exodus, you have a scene where the Israelites, they cross through the Red Sea. And once they pass through the Red Sea, it says that Miriam, who was a prophetess, right, or at the rank of a prophet, right, but she was a female, and she was kind of the leader of the Israelite women, that she leads them in song and dance. They're so excited that they passed over safely, and that her way of praising God and celebrating is that she begins to sing and she's dancing, and they're, enjoying themselves. But you have that incident, and it's taking place in the life of Moses, right? And he's not preventing it. He's not objecting it. It's kind of portrayed as a good, righteous thing.
Yes.
Another incident takes place later on in history with another prophet by the name of David in the Bible. And most Christians are quite familiar with this story, and the event is depicted in every movie that's made pretty much about David. And that is that he ends up pretty much like taking all of his clothes off besides like a linen cloth, and he moves forward in the streets barefoot, and he is just dancing his heart out and singing and praising God, and he is so happy to the point that it embarrasses actually one of his wives, and his wife is like, "Hey, this is totally inappropriate, David. Like, what are you doing?" And yet he's a prophet, he's infallible, and this was his actions that were in the Torah. So in Judaism and in Jewish law, based on that, the rabbis have stated that there is no prohibition against singing and dancing as long as it's, within a righteous framework, yes. Right? Or in the context of a celebration, a communal celebration, such as a wedding or a feast or an Eid or something like this, or in worship, and you'll find that it exists there. Now, the narrative continues on in Christianity, which is an extension of Judaism, where at the Last Supper, basically, it's at the event of the Last Supper. Jesus Christ, the Bible says, he tells his disciples, "I really want to eat with you guys. One last meal." He sits with his companions. They eat. He takes out the bread. He says, "This is my flesh." He takes out the wine. He says, "This is my blood." And then at the end of their meal, it states, right, that they all began to sing together. So Jesus and his disciples, then they engage in singing together, and then they go out to the garden, all right, where Jesus is arrested. Okay, so here you have Moses, his sister, leading the women in song and dance. You have David, he's dancing in public and singing. And we also know that there's narrations from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam that say that the second most beautiful voice in all of paradise is the voice of David. And he was known as somebody who used to play musical instruments as well. And sometimes when he would play the musical instruments, they would calm down Saul, who was being affected by demonic spirits. And then you have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have narrations from the Prophet Muhammad that are sahih. First off, this whole science of sahih and not sahih, it's not even true. But nonetheless, there are these narrations that Muslims consider to be authentic. Multiple narrations where the Prophet, for example, there would be Abu Bakr who would be objecting because it was Eid morning and there was two girls that were singing and, there's music going on and basically Abu Bakr says, "What is this? The windpipes of the devil are here in front of Rasulullah," and then Rasulullah tells him to be quiet, basically, that everybody has an Eid and this is our Eid, meaning like let the party go on, or let the females continue to sing and enjoy because this is, our celebration or our party as believers.
Yeah.
There are other narrations in which the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also allowed that they use a particular drum-like instrument along with singing to celebrate at weddings. So now you have singing and music allowed at weddings, and singing and music also allowed at festivals of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's why you have that there's some people that say it's the context of the song or the context of the celebration, whether or not it's something righteous or unrighteous, if there's alcohol present or not present, that some songs are permissible, some songs are non-permissible, and other fatwas that are issued by even very famous so-called ayatollahs that have stated that, it is better to avoid it, meaning we're not really sure, but it's better, it's safer to be on the safe side by avoiding it. So they are not really sure. Now, the truth of the matter is in the meaning of the word singing and dancing or of music. Now, here's what I can tell you about the words of the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. I can tell you that the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam would use particular words to mean differing things, all right? Or they would use words that would mean one thing to the general population, but in actuality, it holds a particular underlying other secondary meaning. For example, you'll have a situation where the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam will say that the believer is an Arab and the non-believer is a non-Arab. All right. So what does this mean? Does this mean that only Arabs are believers and only, and all non-Arabs are non-believers? That Islam came only for the Arabs? No. It just means that an Arab who's a non-believer is not considered to be an Arab. But that the word Arab, in its true essence, in its true meaning, means the believer. Do you understand what I mean? Yes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Another narration will say that the believer is a Hashimi. So who's from the Bani Hashim? Is it just the people that were born from the bloodline of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the people that wear the black imamas? No. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Ahl Bayt say that the believer is a Hashimi, because he hasham al-batil, right? He destroyed or crushed the falsehood, right, by holding on to the truth. So the meaning of it is different, and this is also true in regards to the meaning of ghina, the meaning of singing. Singing is what instigates and incites immoral, lewd, haram. Whatever incites the haram is considered to be al-ghina, or singing, right? The singing that is impermissible, that they spoke about in their narrations. Yes. But everything else other than that is allowed. So singing hymns, all right? Singing praise. What is singing anyway? What does singing mean? It means using words that are rhyming, right, in a melodic fashion. Yes. If that is its definition, then Quran itself is singing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If singing is that, then also the poems that the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam used to encourage some of their companions, like Di'bal, the companion that was a famous poet in the time of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, that used to always sing praises for the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, and the Imam would encourage him to do so, then that would also be considered to be right. Yes. Or wrong. Yeah. What about all these latmiyas and these things that they have in the Shia channels, right? Where they're sitting there, and it's like they even got music videos now for their latmiyas. Is this not singing? I mean, it's singing if it's the definition of it, right or wrong?
Absolutely.
So obviously, there's two different types of singing that's going on here. There's the singing, which is the singing of the people of the shaitan, the people of Iblis, the people of haram, the people of disbelief, and then there's the singing of the people of God. And we have even many narrations and many verses in the Bible that speak about how the angels up above, they themselves are singing praises of the Lord, right? So this is halal and this is haram. Music and song and dance that is lewd, immoral, incites lust, incites or encourages somebody, makes them pumped up like they want to go rob a shop, or they want to commit an act of murder, or they want to fornicate, or that uses foul language. This is all haram.
Yes.
All right. And all other music is halal. And perhaps those who are outside of the dawah, this wouldn't mean much to them. But there are 124,000 prophets and messengers that were unknown, meaning it was unknown to the public that they were prophets and messengers. And from them were Aristotle and Socrates and Plato and Pythagoras and other philosophers that lived in Greece and Rome. And they spoke a lot about how music basically comforts the soul, or provides energy for the soul, or it is a form of worship in itself.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think especially this question a lot of people are wondering about. And I think now it's very clear and easy for the person to distinguish and have a clear understanding of the totality of the hadith and the deeper meaning for it.
God bless you, Hadil.
I will move with the next question, which is a question from Hussein Ali.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, peace be upon you and God's mercy and his blessings. I have a question. If the father and mother are not concerned about their child and do not inquire about him in times of both ease and hardship, what should be the child's stance towards them? And the question in Arabic, السؤال من حسين علي وبيسأل السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عندي سؤال: إذا كان الأب والأم غير مهتمين لأمر ولدهم ولا يسألون عنه في السراء والضراء، ما موقف الولد تجاههم؟
Well, here's what I know about the duties that we have towards our parents. We do know that Muhammad and the family of Muhammad alayhi salam said that paradise resides under the feet of the mother. They also stated that if we attempted to pay back our mothers with the world and everything that's on it in exchange for one night that we had in her womb, that it wouldn't be enough. We also know that the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the Prophet Muhammad, when he was asked who is the people that we should love most on the planet, he said that you should love most your mother, and then your mother, and then your mother, and then your father. We do know that one day there was a young man that was brought forward by his father before the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the old man came walking forward, and he was kind of like leaning on a staff because of how old he was. And he complained to the Prophet, and he said, Prophet, I used to be strong, and he used to be weak. I used to be rich, and he used to be poor. And now I am weak, and he is strong. I am poor, and he is rich. In the beginning, when I was the one that was rich, I never held back my money from him, and I never held back my strength from him. And now that he's the one that's rich, and he's the one that's strong, he doesn't ask about me, and he doesn't help me with anything. And at that moment, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cried, and he cried, and he cried, until there wasn't, the narration says, there was nobody that was out around him except that they heard the Prophet's weeping. And he addressed to the young man, and he said, You and your money belong to your father. You and your money belong to your father. You and your money belong to your father. So I think that whether or not our parents ask about us or don't ask about us, whether or not our parents, we perceive them to have been good parents or bad parents or whatever it may be, it is us that have a duty to be rightful, righteous towards our parents, our mother, our father, and to ask about them and to take care of them. There's only one condition really that excuses us from this duty, and that is if they try to stand in between us and fulfilling our obligations towards God and His Messenger. Other than that, it is always our position that we must be righteous towards our parents. And there's another narration that says that anything that you see in yourself that you like, it comes from your dad.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you so much, Muslim.
Thank you, Hadi.
I'll move to the next question, which is from Muhammad Al-Salih. And it is actually about a dream or a vision he has seen. So he starts by saying, peace be upon you. Kingship belongs to Allah. Rulership belongs to Allah. And allegiance belongs to Allah. Peace be upon my master and my Lord, Aba Al-Sadiq. I want to speak about what I have seen. I saw in a dream that I was heading towards Yemen, and we were 17 men. A dark-skinned man led us in prayer. He was speaking classical Arabic, and he was fluent in his speech. In another part of the dream, I found myself in Yemen with the pyramids of Egypt behind us. I recognized 5 of the 17 men, and I declared 2 allegiances to my master, Aba Al-Sadiq, peace be upon him. And upon this pledge is my life and my death. And the question in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum, al-mulk lillah, wal-hukm lillah, wal-bay'a lillah. Assalamu ala sayyidi mawlay, Aba Al-Sadiq. أريد أن أتكلم بما رأيت. رأيت نفسي بالمنام أي الرؤية أني متجه إلى اليمن وكنا 17 رجلاً وصلى بنا رجلاً أسمر ويتكلم بالفصحى وهو طليق اللسان وفي المنام مرة أخرى أجد نفسي باليمن وخلفنا أهرامات مصر وعرفت من 17 رجلاً 5 رجال وأنا أعلن بيعتين لمولاي أبا الصادق عليه السلام وعليها حياتي ومماتي.
The meaning of the dream, since he pledged allegiance to me twice, is that he'll believe, then he'll disbelieve, and then he'll later on believe once again. And so he pledges allegiance to me twice.
Thank you so much, Hossein.
Thank you, Hadi.
We have a question from a sister, Noor Ali. She's saying, peace be upon you and God's mercy and His blessings. My greetings to you, my dear father, Aba Al-Sadiq. My dear father, please respond to me and put my mind at ease. I want to divorce my husband for the sake of migrating to you. He is stubborn and does not accept the blessed call, and he does not understand. Sometimes when I speak, he curses me and curses the blessed call. I have decided to divorce him. Should I divorce him? I don't know the consequences of this matter. Will he remain stubborn and disbelieving? Every time I intend to divorce him, something prevents it. Please guide me, my master, my guide in times of confusion. In the past, when I had a matter, I used to resort to istikhara. But after I came to know you, my master, you are my guide. Please, my master, respond to me. Do not leave me confused by the right of your father, Ahmad al-Hassan. Forgive me, my master, for my shortcomings. And the question in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayyakum Allah, walidi al-aziz, Aba Al-Sadiq. والدي العزيز أرجوك رد علي طمني. أريد تطليق زوجي لأجل الهجرة إليك. هو معاند لا يستجيب للدعوة المباركة ولا يتفهم. وأحيانا إذا تكلمت يلعني ويلعن الدعوة المباركة. وقررت الطلاق. هل أطلقه؟ لا علم لي بعاقبة الأمور. هل سيبقى على عناده وكفره؟ كل ما نويت الطلاق صار أمر يمنع ذلك. أرجو أن ترشدني يا مولاي يا دليل المتحيرين. سابقاً لما كان عندي أمر ما ألجأ للاستخارة، لكن بعد ما عرفتك يا مولاي أنت دليلي. أرجوك يا مولاي رد علي، لا تخليني حائرة بحق أبيك أحمد الحسن. سامحني يا مولاي لتقصيري.
So a lot of times when an individual will believe in the call, in the beginning they'll find resistance from their family members. The family members will think or act or speak out of anger or worry over their spouse. And I think that a certain amount of resistance in the beginning is normal. And I think that patience quite often bears great fruits. And we've had many examples of people that have entered into the dawah and they were patient upon their spouses, and later on their spouses followed them into the call. However, if a person is married to somebody and they are insistent upon disbelief, which is the case of this woman who's asking, the disbelieving woman that's asking, she's stating that he is insistent upon disbelief and that sometimes he is sending curses upon the dawah or upon the imam. This would classify the individual as a nasibi, or somebody who holds or bears enmity, hatred in their heart towards God, His Messenger, the dawah, the call. And in that case, Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam made it clear in a narration that's mentioned in Al-Sharif that if a woman was to ask for the testimony of a believer and say to them, my husband is a nasibi, my husband hates the dawah, hates the imam, hates this religion, I want a divorce from him, that the believers should testify that she is divorced, meaning that she automatically has the right to divorce a husband who is insistent upon disbelief, whether or not the husband decides to grant her the divorce. And the reason for that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولن يجعل الله للكافرين على المؤمنين سبيلا. And God would never allow for the disbelievers to have an upper hand over the believers. So if the upper hand is the hand of a disbelieving husband and the underhand is the hand of a believing woman, then God releases this disbelieving hand from being above that believing woman. Why? Because God said in the Holy Quran, He will never allow the disbelievers to have an upper hand over the believers.
SubhanAllah. So her belief freed her and liberated her.
Her belief freed her, and if she decides to be patient, it is hers to be patient. And if she decides to be divorced in this very instant, then I and the rest of the believing congregation testify that she is divorced.
I will go to another question, which is from a group of brothers, actually, from 4 brothers. And they're saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, greetings of Allah be upon you, O proof, O cave. My master, we are 4 brothers from Manchester, and this is a united message. We are in need and we want to escape towards you. We want to devote our time to your service and we wish to escape this Dajjal system. We want to be under your wing and be a part of your truth. We want to leave this life that we are living. We are ruining our souls and our lives. Our situations and circumstances are different. We have wives and children that are abroad. We want them with us, but we are united on being in your service. This is all our heart's desire, to escape this false system and world. We wish to be with your ranks, dear Master, and to be amongst the believing men and women in your service. We are lost sheep in need of the good shepherd. We are youth in need of a cave. We are children in need of a father. We are like dead individuals wanting life. We are sinners in need of forgiveness. Guide us to the way, O bright star, forgive us. In the question in Arabic, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ya Hujjat Allah, ayyuha al-Kahf, ya Sayyidi. نحن 4 إخوة من مانشستر وهذه رسالة موحدة. نحن في حاجة ونريد الهجرة إليك. نريد أن نكرس وقتنا لخدمتك ونرغب في الهروب من نظام الدجال هذا. نريد أن نكون تحت جناحك وأن نكون جزءاً من حقيقتك. نريد أن نترك هذه الحياة التي نعيشها، فنحن نهدم أرواحنا وحياتنا. أوضاعنا وظروفنا مختلفة، لدينا زوجات وأطفال في الخارج ونريدهم أن يكونوا معنا، لكننا متفقين في أننا نريد أن نكون في خدمتك. هذا هو جل ما تريده قلوبنا، أن نهرب من هذا النظام والعالم الزائف. نتمنى أن نكون في صفوفك يا سيدي، وأن نكون بين الرجال والنساء المؤمنين في خدمتك. نحن خراف ضالة بحاجة إلى الراعي الصالح. نحن شباب بحاجة إلى الكهف. نحن أبناء بحاجة إلى أب. نحن كالموتى نريد الحياة. نحن خطاة بحاجة إلى المغفرة. دلنا إلى الطريق أيها النجم الساطع واغفر لنا. والسؤال من خادم وياسف وهاشم ومحمد.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to those four brothers that have reached out to us. And I think what I would like to say to them, and take the opportunity to say to anybody else who has the similar desire to join us, is that this is not a decision that is to be taken lightly, because this path is a path that it's the path of the prophets and the messengers. It's the path of the imams. It's the path of the Shia that chose to support those prophets and messengers and imams. It's an oath and a pledge that you're taking to dedicate your entire life without ever turning back towards this. This is the type of decision that somebody who wants to be a monk would take, or somebody who wants to, take a vow, for example, in Christianity of celibacy in order to serve Christ for the rest of their life would take. That's the equivalent of what is taking place here, and the type of oath that the men and women who have joined us have taken. And it's not fair, Ahmed al-Hassan said, for anybody to join the believing men and women that are with me except those who are willing to do the same as they did, which is reject the dunya and dedicate their lives and stand by the imam of their time. And that requires that the individuals be sure before they even come out here whether or not this call is the truth or not the truth. They have to pass a point of exploration, a point of doubt, and they have to reach a point of certitude and know that it's the truth, because if they come and leave, it will be worse for them than, having not come at all. The person who comes here, joins me, and then leaves is like a person who called Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his family to come out to Iraq in order that they stand by their side, right? And face the tyrant Yazid. And then at the 11th hour, right before the battle starts, they decided that they're going to take the night as a covering and walk out. I remember one day somebody asked Ahmed al-Hassan about those individuals that Imam al-Hussein allowed them a chance to take the covering of the night and to go out. And Ahmed al-Hassan said, all of them are in hellfire. Not one of them is in paradise. Not one of them. All of them are bear and share the responsibility of the death of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And I'm being very clear and very honest and open with everybody who asks me a similar thing. If you want to join me, if you want to be amongst me, amongst my wife and my children, my companions, my brothers, my sisters, the people that I care about, their children, if you want your children to be with our children, be prepared that your reputation be destroyed. Be prepared for enmity from the people. Be prepared for trials and tribulations. Be prepared for poverty. Walk through the door humble, without expectations. Come to me like an empty container willing to be filled. Remove from your head all expectations and dictations that you have learned in your past about what the da'wah should be and what truth should be like and what falsehood is, because a lot of of these concepts will be turned upside down when you come, and a person that doesn't come empty, a person who already comes full, is going to, he can only bear so much before the glass will break and shatter. And I'm not a person who is giving people water to drink. The knowledge that is given with the Qa'im is heavy oil. It is the Quran that is not touched except by the pure. It is a dawah and its knowledge that cannot be handled except by a prophet, messenger, or a close angel, or a believer that God tested their heart for faith. So if they see themselves as that and willing and ready to give up their lives for this cause and to carry their cross on their back and to march out with me towards Karbala, if they're ready to bear the responsibility and fulfill the oath that was taken upon them in the Adam's world, then what are they waiting for? They should have already been here. And they don't need permission to come. These people, they just show up.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, if they give us all the worlds, all the entire existence in one hand and the life with you, we wouldn't even think about it because it's
I want to also increase one thing to that. There's these narrations from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam that speak about the Qa'im and his companions, and they mention a lot of different stances that the Qa'im has with his companions. And there'll be instances where his companions will apostate and they'll run away from him, and then they come back to him, right? Or new people pledge allegiance to him. And one thing that the narrations makes clear is that the rank of the companions of the Qa'im is in order of how fast they went towards him. So the ones that came first, they are the best. The ones that came after that, they are second best, and as such.
This is a next question from a sister named Maya, and she's asking, peace be upon you, Father, is there such a thing as four horsemen? And the question in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum walidi, هل هناك شيء اسمه الفرسان الأربعة? والسؤال من Maya.
Yeah, there is such a thing called the Four Horsemen, and they are known as the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and they are mentioned in the book of Revelation. And the Four Horsemen and the four horses are of different colors. You have one that is white, and the white horse, it symbolizes conquest, and it's ridden by a conqueror who wears a crown, and he goes forth in the land and is given authority to open and to conquer. And in Islamic traditions, this horseman is the Mahdi. In some Christian traditions, they consider it to be Jesus. And then you have a second, and he's considered to be a punishment. The first horseman is considered to be a punishment on the disbelievers and a blessing and relief for the believers. The second one is a red one, and it is war, basically. And when that horseman is allowed to go forth, it means that God gives permission for war to take place, on the entire earth or on the entire planet. The third horse is a black horse, and that horse symbolizes famine, no food, expensive prices, economic collapse. And when that horseman is allowed to go forth, it means that, that God has given permission for that type of punishment, the scarcity of food and water to ensue the whole world. And the final horseman is a pale horseman. And it's ridden by a rider, and the rider's name is Death. And this is when death goes forth in the world and is given in some narrations permission to eliminate 1/4 of the inhabitants of the earth through various means, and in other traditions 1/3, and even in some traditions 2/3 of the population of the earth. And so those are the 4 horses. They symbolize various punishments that come upon the world, and as I mentioned, their colors are white, red, black, and pale. And in some traditions, that pale is actually more of a greenish hue. And they symbolize the conqueror, and they symbolize war, and they symbolize famine, and finally they symbolize death.
Thank you so much, Al-Sadiq.
God bless you.
I'll move to the last question from the Ansar abroad. And the questioner says, good evening. I have a question about the real issue between Sunnis and Shia, which is the story of the Prophet's wife Aisha and his companions Abu Bakr and Umar. They call them names. What is your opinion? And the question in Arabic, مساء الخير، استفسار عن حقيقة المعضلة التي بين السنة والشيعة، وهي قصة زوجة النبي عائشة وأصحابه أبو بكر وعمر، فهم يشتمونهم. ما رأيك؟
My opinion is that we should always engage in respectful discourse. I don't think that we or anybody else that proclaims themselves to be a believer should curse or use bad words about anybody, any holy figure that any other sect respects or considers to be, a leader or a holy figure for them. So we're totally against cursing or using bad words about any person. But that doesn't mean that we accept them as good people. We think or consider them to be people that are going to paradise. We consider that Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman were 3 individuals that were not appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their names were not mentioned by the Prophet Muhammad in his will. We believe that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the narrations from the family of the Prophet and the close companions are too many to ignore. The incident of Ghadir Khum was sufficient in it and of itself as proof that the rightful heir after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Ali ibn Abi Talib, followed by 11 Imams. And then after that, there will be 12 Mahdis. So anybody else who sat on the throne of the Khilafah or the leadership of the Muslims after that is somebody who's a usurper, who's a sitting in a position that they don't deserve to be sitting in. As far as the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we believe what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanded Aisha and Hafsa, and he compared them to be the likes of the wife of Nuh and the wife of Lut. Each, the Quran says, had a wife that betrayed him. And Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam said that the betrayal was in a very bad way. And so we believe that this verse with this comparison directed at Aisha and Hafsa, they must have done something really bad to hurt the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayma wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayma wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayma wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. The Prophet, the Quran says, if he dies or is killed, the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam say that he was killed. The Sunni narrations state that he was also killed as a result of being poisoned by a Jewish woman. The problem is that the incident of the poisoning took place like a year or 2 or 3 before the Prophet died. Nobody dies in that long of a time period or time span from poisoning. That's way too much. There's other narrations that indicate that Hafsa and Aisha conspired with their fathers Abu Bakr and Umar to poison the Prophet and kill him, murder him. And that's why the Shia curse, or the people that do curse Hafsa and Aisha, they do so because there are these narrations that state that they're actually the murderers or the assassins of the Holy Prophet, and that they betrayed them to that degree. And further confirmation of the fact that they didn't end up being so good was the fact that there was this great battle that took place. It was called the Battle of the Camel, in which there was a massacre that took place between the Muslims. Imagine that, all of the companions of the Prophet, the Muslims killing Muslims, they're attacking Muslims, they're slaughtering Muslims, father against son, brother against brother, they're fighting. On one side, you had the Prince of the Believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, right? He is leading tens of thousands of Muslims, right? And on the other side, leading the opposing army against him is the wife of the Prophet. And she's sitting on a camel. And she is fighting against Ali ibn Abi Talib and fighting against the companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib, even though the Prophet made it clear that the truth is with Ali and Ali is with the truth. And he clarified that him and Ali were both from the same light, and that his actions and his words are the words of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Ali ibn Abi Talib's words and his actions are the words and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even though Ali ibn Abi Talib is the father of the youth of paradise, the masters of the youth of paradise, Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, they still went out and they fought against him. And so it doesn't really leave much of an excuse, in addition to particular narrations that state in the Raja, in the return, in the events of the Qiyam, that the Qa'im takes vengeance from some of the wives of the Prophet that are no longer his wives. In that incarnation. And we have in the Holy Will itself, there's this very important phrase where the Prophet dictates to Imam Ali, and he says that you are my guardian over my affairs and over my family after me, over my spouses, my wives, whoever from them that you confirm that you keep, right? They will remain married to me and they will meet me in the hereafter. And any of them that you divorce me from, then I am innocent from her. And so it's kind of odd that this phrase is in the will, and at the same time you find some of the wives of the Prophet later after his death riding on a camel and riling up the Muslims against Ali ibn Abi Talib and his family. And there's just too many narrations to talk about in one setting. There's so many narrations about how they were very abusive in their behavior towards Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, that they were filled with envy towards her, and that they used to abuse her and make her cry, and various things of this nature.
Yes. Thank you so much, Aba Al-Sadiq, for this clear answer. These were all the questions that we had from the believers abroad. Thank you so much. Wa alaikum salam.